welcome to the Schrod pod. Here's another first. Hear all those noises behind me? That's because we're outside. We're going to go find some vinyl in our local vinyl shop. Dig Records. Dig Vinyl on Bowl Street in Liverpool. Hopefully not get hit by this motherfucker who doesn't know how to use his indicator. And I'm going to meet Matt inside. Hopefully going to find a record, take it right home and listen to it for this episode of Schrodinger's Track. You're listening to Schrodinger's Track, aka the Schrod Pod. If this is your first episode, then let me explain the premise to you. In Schrodinger's Tracks, we will be seeking out the weirdest album covers we can find from bands we've never heard of to see if you can in fact judge an album by its cover. Pretty simple premise, right? Let's see how it goes. And we are live in the doghouse.
Is this something new? Is this
I'm trying to come up with catchphrases so we can sell t-shirts and become millionaires like every other bastard with a podcast 10 years ago. No, welcome to the Schrod Pod, Schrodinger's Track. And we have such a special episode for you today, fans.
We could have done part of this live.
We could have, yes. We did go and find a record today just for you. And oh, what a lucky thing we did.
Yeah, it's like...
What a find.
What
a find we found.
What a find. And to be honest, like there was quite a few finds to be had.
There was so many farms to be founded.
Yeah, it's like I'm a bit caught because I went to a shop a few weeks ago on like near me, and it was disappointing from this podcast perspective because they just had things that I wanted, and like nothing that looked awful, but this place had a good selection of stuff you'd want, but also a lot of what the fuck stuff.
Dig Vinyl in Liverpool,
yes,
on Bowl Street. Do recommend. A lot of Thor stuff there that Matt had never seen before, so one day we're going to have to talk about Thor, but we're not going to talk about him today.
No.
Who are we talking about today, man?
We're talking about smashed Gladys.
So he pulls this out of the bin, and I just see a skeleton on the front, and I'm like, cool, skeleton, I like this. But then I see the shapely lady in front of him, and I go, well, that's interesting, okay. And then I see the name slashed Gladys. And like sold. I
think we didn't even look at the back of this. We were
no.
We were like, that's because there was a few things that's like ours a maybe pile, but this one was like, yes, this is this is coming with us. And then we thought we'd lost it. We thought someone else had nabbed it.
One of those other smashed Gladys fans out there. So as in with the rules of the podcast, never heard of this band before. Never heard the name or heard the music. We didn't know till we looked at the back of it. This is a glam band.
Yeah, it's
for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a glam band.
And look at the picture as posted on the Schrod Pod Instagram and Top Hats and Canes YouTube channel. You will see how glam those motherfuckers are.
Yeah,
because they are some glam-looking people. So glam, in fact, that I commented that the singer in the middle was quite the handsome fellow. To which Matt pointed out, "That's no man, that's a lady." I'm still not convinced. So this is why I want to listen to this right away to find out, because is it better if it's a hot chick in a glam band? Because one of the other people in the isn't the point of glam rock to be I'm the most attractive man here?
I don't know. I thought the whole reason I don't even know, because I'm not into glam and hair metal. And
yeah, we're not glam people.
Like,
we're the least glamorous people.
Yeah, like I think the guy in the shop was like, "What the fuck are you buying this?"
But it's so interesting though, because like the whole thing is trying to look like a lady, and then they just get a lady in. Like they're trying to look pretty, because then girls will bang them. Yeah, that was I'm pretty sure that was the reasoning behind it. I mean, so then to get a girl in the band, it's like the whole thing is they're marketing the image towards girls, and it just happens that dudes listen to it.
Yeah, because they're supposed to be like, obviously like glam metal, like really misogynistic. Like Steel Panther is still doing it to an extent,
it's old
but
school
it's
misogynistic. It's not women in their place; it's women are things, which is both of those things are bad.
Yeah, but this seems to be flipping it on its head. It seems to be doing, and I'm literally going off the song titles for this, but rather than go and Google some like Steel Panther songs, like give me some titles because I don't listen to
Like Death to All But Metal's the only one I remember.
oh,
The Goo Goo Dolls Can Suck My Balls.
oh, I can't think of any that are like really misogynistic towards women, and treat women as objects. But when you've got song titles like Legs Up, Hard to Swallow, and Lick It Into Shape, like, is this just glam but from the other gender?
I hope so, because hell yeah, sister, get yours, girlfriend.
But yeah, the back is ticking a lot of the tropes. There's the member who has the fringe over the eyes. There's leather jackets. There's scarves. There's headbands. There's
Huge hair.
hoop earrings. Everyone huge black hair.
Huge hair.
Lots of denim.
A wide angle lens just to get the haircuts in.
Denim, leather, cigarettes, aviators, cowboy boots. I can see. In fact, 2 members wearing a similar pair of cowboy boots. But yeah, going back to the cover, because
I thought
I don't think we've done
the
it justice.
skeleton man was getting his nipples sucked or something. Like, what's
It
going
certainly
on there?
looks like that. He's got his legs spread.
Yeah, that's the weirdest part of it, isn't it? The legs spread to the skeleton.
Yeah, and
Maybe it's not a
she's-
skeleton man. Maybe it's a skeleton lady, and they're 2 lesbian ladies.
She's
engrossed.
draped over
Oh, it's
him.
in a peace sign.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
campaign for nuclear disarmament. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, if you look further, I don't know if that's intentional.
I would think it must be the way the ladies' legs are, because they're so thin and like in the right direction. And what other reason would for it to be? Because
They're fucking standing up. I don't know.
yeah, but they're not enlined in the right place.
Yeah. Possibly. I don't know.
That's why I think it's a lady skeleton who's getting her tits sucked.
And-
You're listening to the Schrodinger's Tracks podcast,
Yeah.
the only podcast you'll hear that sentence.
Got a cowboy hat and cowboy boots.
The cowboy boots, yeah, it's so weird.
I'm assuming the skeleton might be a mascot. Possibly.
You'd have to think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's a few more interesting things on this as well, like the Smash Gladys drink at the Cat Club and Scrap Bar NYC exclusively. The only drink in those.
So they're a New York glam band.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of them? Again, we're not up on our glam
No.
history, so I assume they are all from LA.
Oh, that's a good point though. Yeah, because this is '88 as well. This is quite late.
Hmm.
Because Nirvana will be putting out Bleach not long after this.
Well,
So I don't know, recording Bleach. I don't know. We don't know if this is a debut album, a final album, a middle album.
Yes.
Where I haven't a clue.
If this is your first episode, we do look at the cover, then listen to the album, the first half, and then we research halfway through.
Yeah, I don't recognise any of the musicians. I don't recognise anyone in the Thanks bar. Maybe Ozzy. I don't know if that's Ozzy Osbourne
Nice.
or
Maybe they've left off the Osbourne just in case he sues them.
I haven't a clue. The only thing I recognise on the back is that it's under Elektra Records, who just had loads of alternative and metal bands on,
Yeah.
and that's all I can tell you. Do you want to? I hand the record over.
Oh, hell yeah, let's drop the needle on this bad boy. I hope you're enjoying this episode. Looking forward, I'm going to look into getting some sponsors to fill these little gaps here. But just so we're not big fat sellouts living off that corporate teat, if you've got anything you'd like to plug, your band, your podcast, just get in touch with us via the Schrod Pod Instagram, and we'll mention it in these little breaks here. And now back to the show. So we've listened to a side there, Matt. Thoughts?
I'm not into glam, but it's okay. It's not. I don't. In the scale of like glam bands, because I'm not even into like Guns N' Roses. It's like listenable. It's not offensive or
True.
anything. Like the musicianship's obviously decent and everything. It was interesting to hear as well, because I bet if we didn't look at the back and know that the singer is a woman, that
I'm still not convinced.
you're still not convinced. But yeah, it's like they are like trying. I'm not saying they're trying really hard to fit in, but they've made it sound like the other bands at the time.
They've made it sound like the other bands, but is that a selling point?
I suppose I get what you're saying, because the song I've enjoyed most off this side is the opener, Lick It Into Shape, because it has that. I'm not into Steel Panther either, but I get what they're doing. Like, they're subverting things and sort of like poking fun at the tropes and everything. And I thought this was quite a good putting it on its head, and sort of putting that innuendo in there, but from the female perspective, as in, like, I mean, Lick It Into Shape. It's on the tip of my tongue, and like, Lick It Into Shape, I'm sure she says good head.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure of it. We haven't been able to find any lyrics, but yeah, it's obviously it's not it's not straight about like fellatio, but that's obviously what it's getting at with the innuendo, and that's where I think they work best.
Well, when the first song was on, like, all I could think of is this is just an AC/DC song.
It's very Dirty Deeds.
Yeah,
Very
even some of
Dirty
the
Deeds.
lyrics were just sounding like they were taken from AC/DC songs, and the voice is a bit Johnson-esque, and it's just like the whole album was like the whole side of this album. I was just thinking, why don't I just listen to AC/DC instead?
I know,
because the guitars would be better and it would be heavier, and
catchier.
I would enjoy it more. Yeah.
Like that's the thing. It's like this. It's not bad by any stretch. It's just that this is not.
I'm just saying it's not very good either. There's nothing here that's standing out to me as impressive or memorable.
Yeah, as I say, the first track stood out to me, where it's like, yeah, that's quite sort of clever. It is Dirty Deeds done dirt cheap, in terms of the riff and everything, but it's okay. I didn't mind it. A lot of the other songs are 17 Going On Crazy was kind of that standard piano blues.
Yeah.
Even the solo's just a straight blues solo. Play Dirty was very, probably the most generic, I think, on that side. It, like, even lyrics
super
like
generic.
Too fast to live, too young to die. It's like, just, there's not.
I can hear this song by another band done better.
Yeah, so it's all okay, but I think there might be a few more innuendo type songs on the second half of the album, judging from the titles, which is where I think they work best. It's like lean more into that.
Super clever observational witticism.
It's not, but it's 88. It's like let progression happen. I mean, this album's like what 20? No, it's not. It's 35 years old.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I've no doubt that it must have been difficult for a woman to get noticed, especially in this genre.
If it is in fact a woman,
she is. But yeah, you have to start somewhere. But yeah, it's not, as you say, it's not great. There's a few standout things, but I'm not seeing a lot to like, oh yeah, this is going on a playlist, I want to listen to this, or anything like that.
There were bits in there. Again, all I can say is the parts I liked were the bits that reminded me of other bands. Like at one point, it was a Dive Into Dark, sounds a bit like an Alice Cooper song.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I enjoy this, but at the same time, it's not as good as Alice Cooper.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping the second half kind of comes into its own because of some of the song titles on there. Like, just flip the cover over and have a look at some of the other side.
Hard to Swallow, Legs Up.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
That's kind of what I'm hoping for. More of that, because that was better than some of the other more generic sounding songs on there.
Do you think any of the fucking breakdowns worked in there? Because I got the sense like I knew where they were going, and they were trying to subvert it. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just do and then into it. They were doing other things. And
yeah,
we do it that way for a reason.
Yeah, it was changed up a bit. It's trying to do something different, but it's none of it was like grabbing me to go like, oh, that's really interesting what they're doing there. It's just that sounds a bit off. So I get what you mean there. Right? It brings your attention to it because it sounds off rather than
especially when everything else about it is so familiar.
Yeah,
So
good
it's like
point
they're
there.
obviously trying to be like Axl Rhodes and AC/DC and sprinkle on every other hair metal fucking thing in between.
That's fair. I struggle to name hair metal bands. And GNR would have come out at the same time as these one, so maybe some influence, but yeah,
I think someone's just signed this band thinking like, oh, they sound like someone else that's popular and they've got a good look. Let's see what we can do.
yeah, it is interesting. Maybe there's something on the other side which we're not seeing.
Let's find out, and then let's also, while we listen to it, find out more about the band itself. I hope you're enjoying this episode. Looking forward, I'm going to look into getting some sponsors to fill these little gaps here. But just so we're not big fat sellouts living off that corporate teat, if you've got anything you'd like to plug, your band, your podcast, just get in touch with us via the Schrod Pod Instagram, and we'll mention it in these little breaks here. And now back to the show. Well, then I will tell you about some interesting facts that I found from not Wikipedia, but from the new label of the owners of Smash Gladys Golden Robot Records. Lead singer Sally Kaito started as a singer in the rock band The Concords, while guitarist Bart Lewis did a brief stint with Canada's most dangerous band, the Velatones, before departing for NYC. Soon after relocating to Gotham, Sally and Bart
Why does everything come back to Batman?
Sally and Bart met songwriter Tommy Boyce, who, alongside his partner Bobby Hart, had coined most of the Monkees songs. Under Boyce's guidance, the group began rehearsing at a well-known studio in Midtown Manhattan. SG, which I guess is Smash Gladys, started playing venues in and around New York, during which time they met Gene Simmons. Simmons offered them a production/management deal. Gladys went into the studio and recorded close to an album's worth of material produced by Simmons. Simmons captured the personality and raw gritness of the band perfectly, and by the end of 1984, Smash Gladys were recording in the UK. The band played a single gig to a packed house, one of the first venues they played in New York City, CBGB's. Elektra picked up the rights to the record and then set the band into the studio to work on their next record, Social Intercourse. While making the record, they met artists who worked in the adjacent studio, Ozzy Osbourne, who made guest spoken tracks on song. Osbourne warned the band that some of the titles and subject matter on the record might get them into trouble in certain markets and banned altogether from retailers such as Walmart. He was right, and touring in certain Midwest states became dangerous at times, forcing the band to bring along new members. And people die, people quit. That's the end.
So ends the ballads. I have found out some quite interesting things about this record just from doing that 5 or 10 minutes of research. Like, as you mentioned, like Ozzy, they did meet him, and that was down to this record because he was recording in a studio across, in the same building. So he's on Cast of Nasties, but you wouldn't know unless I told you.
When I was listening to that, my note was, I hate it when they do too much gang vocal with too much effect on it, and it's not really necessary, it's not helping. And then to learn a part of that gang vocal was Ozzy Osbourne. Like,
I know he's not it's not like, oh my god, it's Ozzy and everything. It's like I don't mind Ozzy's stuff. I like some of the early Sabbath stuff. I like some of Ozzy's solo stuff. But if you've got Ozzy,
the marketability of Ozzy Osbourne can't be denied, even by me, who's not an Ozzy Osbourne fan. Like, you'd put that on the fucking cover, not let alone the back, which they didn't do.
Yeah, give him a few lines, or give him the chorus, or
at least remove the other gang vocals. Just make it him. It seems like such a bad idea.
It was just a waste, because I was like, when I read that, I was like, oh.
What do we learn about the guy who produced this?
So, apparently, this is the record they released on Elektra. The first album wasn't released on Elektra, so they saw it as quite a big deal to get on Elektra because they were a big label. So they they wouldn't let them choose their own producer. They wouldn't let them choose the producer who did the first records. So, and they basically insisted on this guy, Rick Brownie?
Yeah.
They insisted on him Elektra insisted on him being used to produce the album because he'd produced "Look What the Cat Dragged In" by Poison, which I haven't heard it. I couldn't comment on the content of it, but I have certainly seen that cover. So I know it's like it's regarded as like a decent hair metal album because it's like I wouldn't know that cover, and I know that cover.
Right.
So
With you.
But apparently they found out afterwards that Poison got really pissed off with him and locked him out of the studio, so they ended up producing most of the record themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But legally, they had to say he produced it. So they got a producer who they didn't like for this record.
And they thought we can do it better ourselves, and I don't think they could have.
No, that was with Poison. So I don't know exactly what the relationship was on this album, but it sort of says that I don't think it's not got like a big sound or anything, has it? It's quite flat.
I mean,
even so,
if this was him at work without being kicked off, it makes sense why they kicked him off of the Poison album, because it's just there's too many things on this that don't work. Someone should have stepped in, especially what was it? "Eye for an Eye." That song towards the end. That should have been the single. That had like the best vibe to it, the best sense of tone and sound. But even like the chorus, which we were talking about, was you need a strong chorus.
Yeah.
An eye for an eye and a heart for a heart. That's like that. An eye for an eye, a heart for a heart. That's great. That's a good line. You could have built a song around that, but it was muddled in with everything else in there.
Yeah.
Like, it was. I gave you my love and you tore it apart. An eye for an eye, a heart for a heart. That's fucking great. More of that.
More, yeah.
But no, it just didn't work. They should have. The producers should have said like, "That's the hook. Let's clean that up. Let's put that out in front." But they didn't. Sank it in the rest of the song.
Yeah.
Where a lot of stuff was happening.
A good point. I mean, I liked this side better than the first one. Like, I thought there was a bit more going on. Like, again, like pointing out, like, kind of knew like "Hard to Swallow" was probably going to be a standout track because it's that thing again, like lick it into shape, where it's let's subvert the genre, let's turn it on its head. So I think they've got Something's Alive, a Hard to Swallow, ticking like a time bomb, living in a wet dream. Which
in a wet dream.
I think that's what they say.
Yeah, it is.
We can't find lyrics to this, so I'm assuming that's what it is. But yeah, just like little clever sort of lines like that. I mean, it's not clever; it's just stupid innuendo. But more of that. I thought Legs Up could have done with a bit more of that on it. But I did enjoy that. I enjoyed that Hard to Swallow and Castanasties. But I get Castanasties was something a bit. It changed it up. It had that galloping riff, and it did sound very Maiden-esque. And everything. Well, for as much as a hair metal band can sound like Maiden, but yeah.
Let's speculate wildly. Do you think having a female at the front of this hair metal band helped them or hindered them?
It's a difficult one.
It's like, as you pointed out, apparently, it's like you write songs about ladies having sex, people are going to wag the finger even more, which is not cool, but, you know.
At the time, I can totally understand. Totally
it's not going to get radio play.
Yeah. It's not. And, like, there's...
What fan base are you going to attract as well? That's another question.
It's an interesting one, that, because, like...
How many successful female rock bands have there been? Joan Jett's, fucking the Runaways,
Heart. There's lots I can name that are like singles.
Girl School.
Yeah, but again, you know them for like singles. It's not like I think, oh yes, that album. Like
L7,
yeah. Obviously Fleetwood Mac. But they're not
Fleetwood
really.
Mac's not right. You know.
Not really.
We're talking about like a gritty
alternative gritty. Yeah. Yeah. There's not a lot, but I think it would have hindered them at this stage, judging from where. I mean, it didn't come out at the bit. I mean, 85 to 88, yes, but shortly after this is going to be the grunge boom and everything that sort of kills everything off. So I think if they'd have come out at around the same time, like you say, Girl School in like 81.
I think they would have done better, because they could have easily just sold the look more then. Like, it makes sense that you would have a female-fronted hair metal band. It's
Yeah.
It's all about aesthetic anyway, and that's what the marketers want. They can say, well, we can sell it as this.
Yeah. I mean, there's an interview on Sleaze Rocks with Sally Cato, which is quite interesting because she basically gets asked what happened with Elektra and everything. And she doesn't outright say that they're the reason for why implosion happened and everything, and it didn't go anywhere. But they put Smash Gladys on like a headline show of doing mid-sized venues until a support slot came up for an arena band. And he said like the arena bands that were touring at that time are like
Nazareth.
Guns N' Roses, Poison, Maiden.
Yeah.
So they were doing that. The opening slot for Maiden came up, and Elektra fucked it up, and similar thing with Poison. So they didn't put them out on tour. I mean, that could have been massive to go out on tour, like to do arena headline tour or arena tour with Maiden or Poison headlining. Especially 88 is Maiden got Power Slave would have been out. Is that Seventh Son of a Seventh Son? Peace of Mind's 86, I think. I'm getting confused with my Maiden discography. But anyway, Maiden at that time, fucking huge.
Yeah, they only ever got 2 albums out as well.
Yeah.
And with a big distance in between them, 85 and 88.
Yeah, that's what, like, because that'd be the split between signing to Elektra. So if they had gone out on tour with someone like Maiden or Poison, it could have been a different story. They could have had a lot more albums off that. Can you find whether this third album was ever released? Because there's loads of news articles saying like this album Raw, which contains like a few releases or a few songs that were written for the self-titled LP, and this were on it or was supposed to be on it, but I can't find anything on it being actually released. I mean, those articles are from 2020 or from 2019 to 2020, something like that.
New single through Juno, Bump in the Night. I'm just seeing stuff about singles.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a shame, especially when we read after this, like, she died May 2020 as well. So maybe that's the reason why we didn't get sort of that other release. Or
Apparently
maybe
she just quit after that album to be a graphic artist.
Yeah. No, I'm saying like because all the news articles are saying like, oh, this third album's going to be released, but when Sally died, maybe the momentum was lost for her. I don't know. It's more speculation off my part, but it's bummed me out a bit reading some of the things because it sounded like there was potential here. I might go out and check the first album. Or I might go and check the first album out because from the sounds of it, there were problems with this producer and everything. So I'm wondering if the first record is maybe a bit more representative of the band and maybe a bit less of label politics.
Yeah.
I might go back and check it out. But yeah, there's a few sort of like Hard to Swallow and Lick It Into Shape. I won't necessarily put them on a playlist, but I might go back occasionally and listen to a few bits off this. But
so again, if this is your first episode for some mad reason, we end up by saying if the album goes on the shelf or in the bin. For me, this would be like it would go on the shelf, but very far in the back. Like to the point where if I needed to make space, it would be the first thing that went in the bin.
Yeah, I don't want to put it in the bin. I don't want to put it in the bin.
It's not bin worthy, no, but it's not good. There was nothing on this album that I enjoyed. That's how I will put it. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a few songs I enjoyed, so I'd keep it. But yeah, I'm more intrigued. Like I want to learn more. Kind of like with Terror, who we reviewed, who have actually gone back and listened to some of it. It's like they've done all sorts and everything. It's similar to that. I'm intrigued. I want to listen to the first album. I want to see if that's more representative. Is this album a bit like signing to the major, politics getting involved, and then it turned out to be a bit of a dud, or is this something more worth salvaging on other releases? That's the way I'm looking at this.
Well, I hope the next album we listen to, whatever it is, doesn't sound so much like AC/DC, because now I just want to listen to AC/DC.
Yeah, well, there's a few records in the pool there
We'll find out what the next record we pull out of the pool is on the next episode of Schrodinger's Tracks, aka the Schrod Pod. Follow us on Instagram at Schrod Pod. That's SCHRODPOD.
Yes.
Thank you. And follow the YouTube Top Hats and Canes to see these videos, to see the videos of these podcasts, so you can see the albums covers we're talking about. See you next time.